Now, right before we have a very brief intermission, and we will make it very brief because we need to have the rest of the performers come up here while the evening is hot. Are you enjoying yourself so far, ladies and gentlemen? As my very wonderful assistant makes her way out here with the very special honor, we would like to welcome to the stage, and would you please give them a big round of applause, Mr. John and Mrs. Susan Reitsma, ladies and gentlemen. Before I make some remarks about some very wonderful people who have been supporters right from the get-go, it is important that you know, before we do this, lest there be anyone in this audience who thinks, well, if you have generous people like that, then I guess my $100 check doesn't mean anything. Au contraire. Please, believe me, your $50 check, your $20 check, every bit adds up, and we can't do it without you. As I told you at the outset of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, we depend strictly on the generosity of those with whom we come in contact with, who attend our fundraiser party, and on down the line. We appreciate everything from $1 on up. And we hope that God will richly bless you for supporting our cause, because it is a worthwhile cause indeed. So don't ever get the idea that any amount is too small. It is not. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, two things. There were supposed to be two couples on this stage accepting awards tonight. One of them is a friend of mine since kindergarten, John Harrison and his lovely wife Kathy, who have been very generous donors also from the get-go. And John took ill. They were at the airport when John called and said they were on their way to the emergency room. Now, I've known John since kindergarten, as I just told you, and is anybody familiar with the term psychosomatic? I talked to John, I don't know how many times, and he said, Marana, I do him pretty well, actually. He said, Marana, if this has anything to do with coming up on that stage, you can count me out. And I said, well, can you come up on the stage and just say thank you? No, I can't. I said, well, could you have Kathy say thank you? Well, I suppose maybe I could do that. He's a man of very few words. He is a lover of the performing arts. He comes from a very big musical family. And they used to be on Christian television every Sunday morning, except for John. And the one time they tried John playing accordion with the family, he spent the entire hour crying. And so they are. He may be somewhere crying tonight, as a matter of fact. Now, I spoke to him this afternoon, and he indeed is quite ill. And so we wish him the best, and we thank him and his lovely wife, Kathy, for their generosity. Right here in our own backyard, when I came up with this crazy idea of starting a scholarship fund that would reward performing arts students for competing with each other in front of a live audience, I went around finding the most high-profile, successful, accomplished people I could find. And I remember, I knew John fairly well. I said, John, you want to be on my board? He said, no. He said, ask Susan. She knows that performing arts stuff. I just write the checks. And that turned out to be very true. And Susan started with us right from day one on our board of directors, and has been so invaluable and so supportive and so consistent day in and day out, and has stood by us while we endured growing pains. The first year we weren't sure this thing was going to catch on, and it did. And it's due in large part to the generosity of people like John and Susan. I think they would be embarrassed, and it probably would be in bad form for me to mention a number, other than to tell you it's really big. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present them with this Distinguished Honor Award, which says, "For the sake of the arts." The Distinguished Honor Award is presented to John and Susan Reitsma by the Danny Morona Performing Arts Scholarship Fund, with sincere thanks and appreciation for their loyalty, dedication, generosity, and continued support in providing college scholarships to deserving performing arts students. Presented this day, April 24th, 2013.
Danny, first of all, to God be the glory. As it was mentioned tonight, God created the performing arts. And my love of performing arts goes back to when I was 5 years old. I was taken after my nap to see Wizard of Oz, and I was hooked from that point on with theater, and decided that was going to be my life. I was going to be an actress. And after a couple of summers of summer camp, I decided it was a lot more fun to go watch acting on the TV and in theater and movies than it really was to do all the hard work to memorize. So from that point on, I just became a fan of the performing arts visually. And as a matter of fact, John and I saw a great movie here last Saturday in Twin Falls with stars that I'm sure no one in the room knows, because we didn't know who they were. So I'm going to make a little commercial for this movie right here. There are no identifiable actors that I know. You may not know them either, but they all started somewhere. Someone gave them a break that they were able to get to the point of making a movie. It's actually a Christian movie. It's very inspirational. It's got a wonderful message, and I'm definitely promoting it, wearing the shirt. But Danny, I do remember sitting at your table with you and talking about how you're going to get this off the ground. You had grand plans for it, and praise God, it was, we pushed through a lot of the thoughts that were had back then, and gosh, at a time, Danny, when you and Sherry should be resting on your laurels, chairs included, you have decided to give money to kids that normally could not go to college.